Hello everyone, this is Jason Merkle with Horizon Hobby, and we're out at the dry lake bed today, just outside of Las Vegas, to show you guys something truly incredible. This is a model of an aircraft that a lot of you guys are going to recognize. I know a lot of people have been anticipating this release, and we're really excited to bring you today the E-flite DRACO 2-meter, the only officially licensed scale replica of Mike Patey's fire-breathing ultimate bush plane. So we're really excited about this for a ton of reasons. We've been working on it for a really long time, obviously with Mike's help, Mike's support, Mike's blessing. And what's awesome about it is it's probably the most engineered, most detailed, and most feature-rich E-flite aircraft that we've ever developed, ever produced. There is a ton of stuff on this model, guys. You're not gonna be able to see all of it in this video. We're here today to show you more of the flying than anything else, but be sure to check out the photos on our website, the tons of videos that we're gonna have published, that Mike's gonna have published. It's really incredible to see the amount of detail that we've got into this model. One of the reasons for that is Mike was kind enough to help us 3D scan the full-scale DRACO. And for that reason, we've got all the curves, all the little details, the panel lines, the rivets, the hatches, everything that he even added. It has been modeled as best as we could in this particular model. We chose the size that we did so we could get a lot of those details in there. But real quick, for those who aren't familiar with the full-scale DRACO, please do yourself a favor and be sure to check out Mike Patey at his website and on his social media and YouTube pages. There is a ton of incredible information about the full-scale aircraft, which he originally started with a Wilga 2000, and then on his own, he modified, re-engineered, and turned that model into something truly unique, something that's absolutely one of a kind, something that really took the aviation industry by storm. People who are full-scale pilots were blown away by it, RC pilots were completely enamored with it, and even people that weren't into flying were completely shocked when they saw what it could do. And it's been absolutely inspirational to see not only the journey that Mike took with the model, but the aircraft, the full-scale aircraft, but then to just to see how inspirational it's been on so many levels. Again, with full-scale pilots, RC pilots, and then pretty much everybody else. So again, be sure to check out his channels. We'll have the links down in the description and also in the pinned comment at the top below. There's a ton of stuff going on with this aircraft, just like the full scale. But ultimately, the point of this aircraft is to be something that's very unique when it comes to bush and STOL style flying. It's much larger in the full scale form than a lot of typical bush aircraft. For example, the very popular Carbon Cub, of course. It's designed to climb faster, to go farther, and to ultimately get there quicker than a typical STOL aircraft. And at the same time, it can do it carrying 4 people and their gear too. And so what we did is we scaled it down into this model today that you guys see here with a 2-meter wingspan. You know, we talked about a smaller size, we talked about a larger size. We settled here because we felt like this size allowed us to get a ton of the scale detail, to get the really intricate shapes and all the kinds of bits and things that have been added to the full-scale aircraft modeled here without making it too heavy, and then also being able to kind of really appreciate those details. We also then could add functional scale features. So we've got 17 LEDs throughout this model, a lot like the full scale. We've got slotted flaps, we've got the licensed scale-like King shocks on the main gear. Even the tail wheel has a shock on it as well. Absolutely incredible. You guys will see we've got the leading edge slats. They are functional. They work unbelievable. We've got the simulated exhaust stacks. We've got the 4-blade propeller. There's just a ton of detail. Again, surface details, but also functional details on top of that, and that's why we call this an extra scale model. So real quick, if you're seeing this video and you're thinking, I want this as my first radio controlled aircraft, I will warn you, it's not a trainer aircraft. It's not intended to be an airplane that someone who's never flown radio control flies for their first model, just like the full scale aircraft. You wouldn't jump into one of these to learn to fly and then to ultimately master it in just a short amount of time. So if you are interested in ultimately buying one of these to fly yourself, if you've never flown radio controlled aircraft before, even if you are a full scale pilot, this is a bit different than that. So be sure to start with something a little bit simpler. Our Hobby Zone Carbon Cub S2 is a perfect choice. We'll have the link down below. And then after that, the very popular E-flite Timber series would be a great next step. And then this would be a really fantastic third model for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. So it is relatively easy to fly, but it does have some quirks. It does take some extra skill to handle it because it is a little heavier than some of the more lightly loaded smaller models like the trainers that I just mentioned. So again, start with that. Also do yourself a favor, pick up a copy of the Real Flight Simulator. It is the best tool you can use when you're learning how to fly and to become a better pilot. And then, wink, wink, there probably will be a Draco in that simulator at some point down the road. So back to the model itself. We sell it in two versions. We've got a bind and fly basic version. We have a plug and play version. Both versions come out of the box, mostly factory assembled, factory finished. They're painted, all the decals are applied, all the electronics are already installed. The metal geared servos are already installed throughout. We also have a 4S to 6S compatible brushless motor, a 100 amp Spektrum Avion Smart ESC. Both the PMP and the bind and fly basic versions have all of that equipment. There's also a light controller inside that gives us 7 different modes. I've got them set up on a knob here so I can scroll through them to kind of show you guys a little bit more of that. And then you can also assign that to switches, so different functions have different light modes. So for example, you can mix it so that way when you flip the motor reversing on, your backup light comes on. Really nice little touch. Or when you put the flaps all the way down, your landing lights come on, so on and so forth. We'll have a lot of information available for that separately. We'll also have a model file that you can download to your transmitter to make that work without having to do a bunch of programming. So we're really excited because there's just so much going on, but it's also super simple to put together. One thing that we want to point out is that you do also have the bind and fly basic version available, which includes the Spektrum AR637TA smart receiver. With that receiver connected to the smart ESC, we get a ton of telemetry data, which is really, really cool. I'll come over and I'll show that on the camera here in a minute. But basically, we've got everything from the motor RPM to the current draw of the power system, the voltage of the battery. Whether you use a smart battery or not, you still get the overall full pack voltage. You can also set up a low voltage alert for that when the battery gets low in flight before your low voltage cutoff kicks in on the ESC. You can also set it so when you plug in a battery, if it's not fully charged, it will warn you at the transmitter to make sure that you don't take off before you swap it out to one that is fully charged. So really nice touch there. On top of that, if you use a smart battery, you will also get individual cell voltages. You can also set up low voltage alerts based on an individual cell in case one happens to go bad during flight. You'll know that before you run out of power and crash. Also on top of that, you'll get the temperature of the battery as well. Really, really impressive technology. I know a lot of guys say you don't need it. I understand that, but I've been flying for many, many years, almost 30 years now without it. And now that I have it, I can't imagine not having it anymore in the future. So back to the power system. Again, 4S and 6S compatible, 4S to 6S compatible. I've been flying it today with everything from a 4S 5,000 milliamp 30C battery all the way up to a 6S 7,000 milliamp 30C battery and everything in between. With the 4S battery, it's very slow in scale-like performance. It flies fine. I wouldn't fly it in windy conditions, and it may not be enough power for some people, but with 4S, it does fly well. If you only have 4S batteries, I would try those first. Probably wouldn't want to use anything less than a 5,000 or even a 4,000 milliamp because you may not be able to achieve the correct CG. But those batteries will work. 5S, of course, is a nice step up from that. It has very scale-like power, pretty much probably exactly almost like the power loading of the full scale. And then if you install a 6S battery, you have a ton of power, better than scale power, more power than you really need, but hey, it's fun to be able to take off in a few feet and almost go straight up out of sight. It's absolutely a blast to do that. Well, we typically recommend a 6S 4,000 up to the 7,000. With the 7,000 milliamp battery today, I achieved almost 15 minutes of flight time, just kind of cruising around, touch and goes, a little bit of mild aerobatics here and there. Just had a blast. The 6S 5,000 is probably the sweet spot for a lot of people. Many of you will already own that battery. It works great. Anywhere from 5 to 10 minute flight times, depending on how you fly it. You could probably even stretch it a little bit longer. Nice thing is you have the telemetry on the transmitter, which can help you make sure that you don't fly too long, even if you don't set a timer. So I have a timer set today. You guys will probably hear that throughout the video just to kind of keep me on track to make sure we don't fly too long. But yes, the power system works fantastic with that. And then on top of that, we have just, again, a ton of features like the lights, which you guys can hopefully see with the sunset here. There's just a lot of lights on this airplane. 17 total. We've got a lit up instrument panel inside the cockpit. We of course have the wingtip lights, we have navigation lights, we got the flashing down lights, landing lights. There's lights everywhere. And then real quick, I wanted to run back to the power system. One thing that we do get with the smart ESC, also then the smart receiver that's in the bind and fly basic version, is we do get optional use motor reversing. So like the full scale Draco, you could back up. So that's a really nice touch. You do need a minimum of a 7-channel transmitter to control that. And then if you'd like to control the lights individually, and then if you'd also like to have safe select as well, which we'll get here in a moment, you will have to have at least probably an 8-channel transmitter. Today I'm using the new Spektrum NX8. Does everything that I needed to do for this model and many others as well. Works perfectly for this application. If you only have a 6-channel transmitter, you can fly the bind and fly basic version. You won't have motor reversing, and you won't have the ability to control the lights independently. You can still use the 5th channel to actuate safe select on and off. And so for those that aren't familiar, safe select, it's optional use. You can bind without it if you get the bind and fly basic version, but if you bind with it, it has bank angle limits, it has pitch angle limits, and when you let go of the stick, it goes right back to level on its own. That's very helpful for a low-time pilot, someone who's just coming from their 2nd or 3rd model and moving into this. It's very helpful for takeoffs and landings, also helpful if you're flying in windy conditions, or if you just ever get nervous, you lose orientation. And even as a very experienced pilot, I don't need safe to fly successfully, but I always have it activated so I can turn it on and off at the flip of a switch. If I ever do something I shouldn't do, fly through the sun, lose orientation, maybe I want to let someone else try it, I can turn safe on and they can do that, and then I can turn it off and fly it as normal. So really, really amazing technology, really amazing features packed into it. The bind and fly basic model does also have special tuning in the software. We've got a variety of kind of mixes going on. So we got some aileron to rudder mix to help kind of smooth out your turns with some coordinated turns without requiring a lot of rudder inputs from you as a pilot. There's some other special things going on there to help make the model fly better, but the plug and play version is available for those that would prefer to use their own receiver. And then you can also use, obviously, other kinds of stabilized receivers from Spektrum as well. So it's really exciting. There's a ton to talk about. I could talk about this probably all night, but real quick before I want to show you guys that reverse light, which you can hopefully see there. I'm gonna turn my knob here. You can see that comes on. So again, you can mix that to potentially a switch. So when you turn the motor reversing on, then you can have that light come on. So I just have it on a knob here, which is what the manual kind of shows. And then I'll come over here to the camera and I'll show you guys that telemetry information. There's a lot of really good stuff here. So this is our min-max screen. So this is the minimum RPM and the maximum RPM. We cheated. I did blip the throttle a little bit earlier. That's why you see 6,700 RPM there. This is the screen that I typically fly with. We've got a little battery bar indicator there of about how much battery power we have remaining. Has the real-time RPM, the real-time overall voltage of the battery, the motor current, the throttle percentage, the FET temp, which is basically your ESC temp, and then even the temperature of the BEC and the voltage of it. Scroll over here a little bit further. This is the smart battery info. So this is showing me the total voltage of the battery, the temperature of the battery, and then also the current draw if it was running real time, the imbalance of the cells, how many cycles I have on that particular battery. By the way, I am flying a 6S 5030C Spektrum Smart LiPo today. And then I'll scroll over here, and here we've got the individual cell voltages, and again, the pack temperature, really interesting data. And then here we've got AS3X gains. We do have forward programming available. We even also are having data here with the gyroscopes. We even have G-force information here that's real time. It saves the max and the min as well. Really incredible stuff. But hey, again, I could talk about this all night, but I'm here to fly. So let's do that real quick. All right, so I want to show you guys first and foremost one of my favorite features. It's relatively simple, but I really like what you can do with it. So let's see here. So I'm just bringing up my throttle trim so that way when I have throttle cut turned off, the motor idles. I just like the way a scale aircraft looks with the propeller continuously spinning even when you throttle back. That's just personal preference. But then I'm going to show you guys one of the coolest aspects of all. Of course, you can taxi forward like a normal aircraft, or I can flip the switch and I can back up. It is so cool. And you guys can see it taxiing through these ruts no problem because it's got that shock absorbing landing gear. I really hope you guys can see the LEDs. They have to look awesome in the light here today. All right. So, in typical DRACO fashion, in typical Stoll and Bush style fashion, we're gonna show you guys a really fast takeoff. Hopefully my cameraman's ready for this because we're gonna be off the ground in almost no time and we're gonna go straight up. Look at that. Again, I'm flying the 6S 5030C Spektrum Smart LiPo battery right now. Basically has a limited vertical, especially with a freshly charged battery here. All right, I'm gonna put the flaps away. I really hope you guys can see those LEDs. Man, they look awesome in this sun setting sky. So I've got the flaps away, I've got the throttle back, and I'm just gonna fly it around nice and scale and smooth, because that's really one of the things that this airplane excels at, is looking the part, flying the part. You know, Mike Patey flew the model with us not too long ago. He has RC experience from the past. Of course, he is the most experienced when it comes to flying the full-scale Draco. And he said a lot of the mannerisms of the model are very similar to the full scale. And again, it not only flies the part, but it really looks the part. Look at that. It just looks so good.
Time remaining 4 minutes.
So again, I don't have the flaps down right now. I'm just keeping it clean, flying it smooth. Gotta love that. Just looks so good in the air. Feels good. It's really solid, really smooth. Of course, we do have AS3X in this model because it was a bind and fly basic version. There's just a little bit of a breeze, but AS3X is keeping it smoothed out for us. Awesome. I love the way that looks. Love the way it feels. So I know some people are going to ask, how much power does it have? How fast can it fly? Can it do aerobatics? So I'll just show you for fun. And this isn't what the model excels at, but there's a high-speed pass. I'll come back by and do it the other way to show you that as well. It has more than enough power, more than enough speed. Again, guys, with a 6S battery, it really is better than scale. Wow, it's moving.
3 minutes.
And again, it does have that nearly unlimited vertical. Kick it over here. Now, it doesn't necessarily excel at fast flying or aerobatics, but it can do it. It's a nice big loop. Throttle off on the backside, pull it back around. For those that have flown the original Timber 1.5 meter, I would say this handles very similar overall. So it's not an aerobatic machine. The full scale, of course, is not, but again, it can do really nice aerobatics. Do a little bit of a barrel roll here. But that really isn't what this airplane excels at and what it's intended for. So I'm gonna put the flaps down. I'm gonna start with my takeoff flaps, or my kind of mid-flap position here. I am using the control throws and the flap settings from the instruction manual.
Time remaining 2 minutes.
And with the flaps down like that, you can see it slows down very nicely. Now, I'm not at my lowest flap setting yet, or my full flap setting yet. We'll get to that here in a moment, but I just want to do some nice passes. Oh, it just feels good. It looks good. For those that haven't noticed it yet, we do have a pilot figure in there that looks like Mike in the cockpit. Oh yeah, it just looks awesome. Flying around, slow and scale-like. So I'm gonna come around here and I'm gonna do a little bit of a touch and go. Again, I don't have the flaps in the full down position. So I'm gonna kind of do a wheel touch and go. And I'm hoping that you guys will see the shock absorbing landing gear in action on some of the ruts here in the dry lake bed. So I'm gonna land it a little faster than normal.
Time remaining.
Just kiss those wheels. Drive it along the ground. It's a lot of fun to do this. Flip the throttle and bring it up. And honestly, that's some of the most fun I have with this aircraft, guys, is just shooting touch and goes. It does them so well. It looks so good. I love watching the articulated landing gear in action, whether you're flying from this dry lake bed surface or rocky surfaces or grass or pavement. We've got those giant Tundra tires on there. Do that again, look at that, oh. All right, punch the power and go around again. All right, now I'm gonna put the flaps all the way down. Hopefully you guys could see that, but when I extended the flaps all the way, it slowed down even more.
9, 8,
It still feels locked in. You can fly it a little bit slower.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Has really good handling, even at the low speeds. Just bring it by past the camera here, nice and slow. Look at that. In some cases, people might mistake that for the full-scale DRACO. Absolutely awesome. You bring it around, and I'm using some rudder in these low, kind of tight turns, guys. It's important. We do have some rudder to aileron mixing in there, but it's good to use some rudder to make coordinated turns, especially when you're flying low and slow like this. Bring that nose around, just like you would when you're flying the full scale. All right, I'm gonna do a nice little wheel touch and go here with full flaps. Hopefully you guys will notice it is coming down even slower than it did with the other flap position. Look at that landing gear in action. I'm just gonna let it bounce so you guys can see that. That gear, it absorbs those bounces nicely. Oh, it just looks fantastic. I am really excited about this one, guys. I can't wait till it gets out there and everybody has a chance to see it in person, to fly it. Look at that. I could do this all night. But we don't have all night. So I'll bring it around here and set it down. Got just a little bit of a headwind. Honestly, a little more headwind, it's even more fun. So, with a little bit of practice, you can make your landings shorter than normal by using that reverse, actuating it just before touchdown or right after touchdown. And then for fun, let's go back up, flip it back to forward. Let's do another blast off takeoff. Just like the full scale can. And then real quick, I'm gonna put the flaps away.
2 minutes over.
So I got the flaps up and I'm pulling full up elevator with high rates, and I wanna just show you guys how well it handles at low speeds. I've just got full up in it right now, guys. Holding full up. And look at it. I still have aileron authority. I can still fly it. Hasn't dropped the nose. Now, the airplane will stall still ultimately, but with the CG we recommend, with the batteries we recommend, the control throws we recommend, it has a really great low speed handling characteristics. Look at that. All right, bring the throttle up, put the flaps back down. Oh man, I absolutely love the way that looks. Look at that landing gear in action, going across those ruts. Bouncing around, but handling it no problem. All right. Let's bring her in. Just a simple thing having reverse, but it is so darn cool. So there you guys have it. The E-flite DRACO 2m, our most engineered, most detailed, most feature-rich E-flite aircraft ever. Thank you very much to Mike for letting us have the honor of making a model of probably one of the most unique and awe-inspiring aircraft that there's been in many, many years. Thank you very much to his family and to his friends for supporting us in our journey. It's been a long time coming, guys. We really hope it's been worth the wait. Be sure to check out our website for more details. Check out some of the other videos we're gonna have here at the end of the video and also linked below. There's gonna be a ton of information out there about this. We really hope you guys check it out. We hope to pick up one for yourself. Thank you, and back to work.